Hello, this is National Chess Master Rats. I'm back again at ICC to do League video games. I'm not going to do as many as I did before. I'm just going to do a video for the game of the week, whichever one the guru selects. Argaduri, who was one of the leaders of Team 4545 League, asked me to make a video of this game left over from team event number 54. So let's have a look and see what happens. Actually, this was a very nice game by White. I really have to pay him a compliment for his play here. Black put up an energetic defense, but it just wasn't enough. And let's just see how the game unfolds. Now, normally E5 is generally not White's best move. Way back when I was learning chess openings and some theory back a little over 40 years ago, this line was kind of frowned upon. Black just seemed to get a good position by undermining the white pawn center with c5 and f6. But I don't remember the analysis of that. But I'll tell you what book it was in. It was in the Complete Chess Player by Fred Reinfeldt, which was actually a combination of several books. And that book was probably even written before I was born. Anyway, here comes the thematic breaks. Now, I don't know what theory says on this. I really don't. It's not important. You're not going to win a lot of games memorizing a lot of theory. Well, maybe you will. But you're better off understanding the principles. And I've already said the one principle that Black needs to do in this opening is to play f6. And who knows what modern treatment has for this. But at this level of play, it can be anybody's game if you know the ideas. And White comes up with a very interesting treatment of this position, and we'll see. Again, I don't know how much of this is theory. Black counterattacks on b2. Black is not getting developed. That's one problem. Look at his queen side. Okay, and here he's saying, go ahead, take the pawn. And I guess there's a lot of poison to taking it. I just don't think it's good. I'm not even going to bother analyzing it. And now comes a little knight fork, and then there's a few little tactics here, which could be book. I don't know. You know, it's your guys' responsibility if you're going to play these lines. Book that grandmasters play. It's your responsibility to know them. I think you're making a mistake if you play too much book, because your opponent may know the line a little better than you. Okay, so anyway, a little exchange of pieces, and let's kind of take stock and see what's happened. Okay, material is White's a pawn ahead, right? Okay, but it's not a pawn he can necessarily keep. Actually, White's not a pawn ahead. He has a pawn on c5, which is doubled. But how's Black going to win it back, or win that pawn? How's Black going to finish his development on the queen side? Look at that knight on d7. What scope does it have? It's certainly not threatening to take on c5. It can't go to e5. It can't go to f6. It can go to b8, but then where does it go? It goes back to d7. So the only way that knight's going to get into play is maybe by way of f8, which means he's got to move his rook. So Black is a long ways from completing his development. And White, on the other hand, has the two bishops for what it's worth. And he has one other piece developed, his king's knight. He needs to develop his light squared bishop and get castled. But let's see how play transpires. Okay, c4 might be a little early to do this since Black is constricted. Black's not doing much. Let's just go back again and look at this. What's wrong with just developing a piece? So, you know, what I always say is, in light of any other move, develop a piece. Okay, bishop e2 gets ready to castle. And now what's Black going to do? Maybe he'll try for a queen trade, but White doesn't have to trade queens. He can park the king up to f2 and castle by hand. Black could win this pawn, but White's got development, and Black still hasn't solved all of his problems. But anyway, let's just revert to the main line and see what happens. So anyway, c4. Now comes the check, and then White does feel he needs to trade queens, otherwise he's going to lose that pawn. And so, but some of the black's problems that I was talking about before still exist. How is that knight on d7 going to get into play? And I didn't mention it before, but one of the reasons that knight needs to get into play is so that it'll free the queen's bishop and the queen's rook. They need to get in the game too. So white's definitely got the better position here, but black's position doesn't really have a weakness. Well, b7 is weak. White can pile up on it with rooks on the b file, but even though black is not developed, white is not going to really be poised to go win that pawn. He can just line everything up on it and say to black, I'm going to keep you tied up as long as I can and try and make some inroads somewhere else. So let's see how black goes about solving his development problem. Well, this is a mistake. He's just developing a white piece. I guess he felt if he didn't do it, maybe he'd end up with an isolated pawn. But is that all that bad? What if we play rook d8? Okay, the point of rook d8 is, here, I'll just show you. Okay, just a possible line. If white takes, black takes back. Now, white's not poised to attack that isolated queen pawn yet. He could be. Let's develop the bishop. But now some things are happening. Black has got open lines now for his bishop. His bishop is getting ready to come into play. So what's white going to do? Well, stop the pawn from pushing. Okay, fine. Can black get anything from d4? Maybe. Black could also bring a knight to e6. Okay, that's a possibility. Black could even play rook b8. Let's try rook b8. We'll go back to some of these themes. Now, white's not threatening bishop takes a6, but he could be soon enough. Okay, now let's put this bishop on f5 where it keeps a rook out of f1. Is that any good? I don't know. I mean, it's just a possible line. This is how you get better at chess. You analyze positions out. Yeah, and I don't have to sit here and create the best moves. I just say if it's your game, or if you want to study this position, you start looking for ideas. Well, here the bishop gets into e4. Now suddenly that black bishop which was so horrible a few moves ago, is right in the heart of the white position, and looks like probably white's going to be or black's going to be able to defend this position. Let's see, bishop f3. Well, we can let him take it. We get a tempo check. Just go there. And white still can't play rook b1, which he'd like to, so let's allow the check. And where are you going to put the king? Let's put him on d4. Whoops, or c3 can't go there. There's a check. So, black's got some compensation here. And, we can swing one of our knights into d4 with check if we want. We can do a lot of things. And, we could even pile up on c5 and go ahead and trade our b pawn for the c pawn. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities. But this just develops a white piece. And just as a general rule, you don't want to make captures that develop your opponent's pieces. Let them get there on their own power. Okay? So white has made a mistake. Okay, now I guess here's the purpose of it all. He wants to threaten a discover check. Well, one move threats don't win games. Your opponent will see them. So white sees it naturally and runs his king. Okay, so black is still a little tied up. He still hasn't solved the development of his queen side, but he starts on that path now. Okay, now, as a general rule, you don't want to make exchanges when your position is better. White shouldn't be offering a rook trade here, although it's okay that he did it. Let's just let the black pieces stew in their own juices. Okay, just play rook b1. This prevents the bishop from developing, and it makes black have to wiggle around a little bit to try to develop that bishop without losing that pawn. So rook b1's a better move. When you have an advantage in space, don't trade pieces. Okay, it's just not going to do you a lot of good. Okay, this can help black. Now it's true. One thing, in effect, what just happened even though white has traded a piece, let's go back and illustrate it a little better. In effect, what's happened, black has, and black's the one that instigated this trade, black has traded his developed rook for white's undeveloped rook. Do you see that? Black is not forced to make this trade. He might consider a move like bishop d7, or possibly even bring the knight back to d7. It's just a possibility, okay? And sit on the position and make white prove something. So bishop d7 kind of solves the problem of getting the queen side developed. How's white going to make progress here? Well, white's definitely for choice. He's got a little more bird room, but black's defending this. Okay, so bishop d7 is a better move than exchanging because, as I say, black is trading off his developed rook for white's undeveloped one. So another bad choice by black, which is helping white along. Okay, and now, like I say, black's trying to get that queen side developed any way he can. And finally, he gets the bishop out. Okay, so he's finally made some progress. Okay, and he had a threat of bishop a4 check, which white saw. And white should see stuff like that. I don't see stuff like that. That's why I'm only 2200. I throw away one movers all the time. Anyway, rook c8, little counterplay. Now, this is an interesting move. Knight g5. He's clearly planning to redeploy it to e4 and come into d6. Okay, and I don't know if that's premature. It might be. Black could just try to sit on this game and say to white, prove it. Prove you got something. I dare you. I double dare you. Okay, what's wrong with bishop c6 here? Well, maybe king b4 is what's wrong with it. See, I can't see one movers. That knight looks a little embarrassed. Anyway, b6. And now for the moment, black's a pawn ahead, but white's okay here. White's got a good position. Oh, by the way, white missed a good move. This move, f5, I'll let you analyze it on your own. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it, but black runs into some trouble here. Well, here, I'll just show you. If he takes, white has this nifty little exchange sacrifice. Ouch. And black's in a little bit of hot water here, simply because of this advanced pawn. Clearly black can't take. He's going to drop some wood. So let's grab this guy. And look at that monster pawn. It's going to cause black a lot of heartache, and white should be winning this. But anyway, can't always see everything in the when you're playing in the heat of the battle. But anyway, now that knight comes into d6, now he found f5, which is good. He's just taking some space. And if anywhere where black went wrong, finally cracked, it was here. Black's just got to sit on this game. Resign himself to being a pawn ahead with a kind of a passive position and just try and hunker down and defend. It's difficult to defend positions when you're cramped, but that's pretty much what black had to try. And almost anything would have been better than doing that. Maybe knight a5 is a possible move. We've got to try to figure out a way to get that knight in play. Maybe bishop c8, be willing to give white the two bishops, and then maybe even knight e7. I mean, there's a lot of candidate moves that are available for analysis that are really beyond the scope of this video. But this just opens up lines for white. That's what's good about it. Now the white bishops just get active. And since black doesn't have a dark squared bishop, he's just hurting for certain here. And another fine move, taking advantage of a pin. White's going to win his pawn back. White's down 2 pawns, but he's crushing black. And this is a good move. Look at that. Now then, that tempos the rook. The rook needs to move. And there's probably several ways to do this, but this is fine. And now the pawn comes in, and it's threatening to push and give a discovered check, which is pretty deadly. So White's regained his pawn, but he suddenly got this wonderful ending, and then White finds a nice move, Rook B7, saying if you take, I'm going to checkmate you. Here I'll show it to you. Check. There's a discovered check, and I guess Black can throw a couple pieces in the way. Clearly, if he goes King H8, White promotes on F8 with mate, but Black can throw a couple pieces in the way, but what good does it do? So it's a nice move, Rook B7, and Black sees it and holds on. But now White just has a simple routine win. Just activate the king, and going to win the two queenside pawns, and Black doesn't have a defense. There's no defense whatsoever against those pawns from falling. And then White's going to have another pawn ahead, and there it is, 2 pawns up, and Black just cannot do anything at all, period. And the game will be over here momentarily. So I thank you so much for your time, for looking at this. Great game by White. Decent by Black, but not quite. All right. Thanks for your time. Take care.